Destination mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome back to the Bandicast. This is post-launch, so now that the game's been out for a little over a month, we've all played it, hopefully all beat it. We're going to talk everything and anything and everything Crash. Your eyes and ears do not deceive you. This is happening. I'm going to give the introduction. He was a producer at Activision, and he is now the creative producer at Toys for Bob. If you've watched any of Sane's or Reignited's narrated videos, or even Crash 4's, you've heard his voice. With me for the first guest for post-launch, I have with me none other than Lou Studdert. How's it going, sir?
It's going great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think this is going to be really, really amazing and an interesting podcast to do today.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. Bring it on.
Okay, so I just got a couple questions. They're less interviewee and more just to get some conversations going. So the first one I got is, what is your history with Crash? When did you first get into the series, and what was the first game you ever played from?
Sure. Yeah, my history with Crash. Full admission here. I was a Nintendo kid. I apologize for that, but I was a hardcore Nintendo kid. I still remember getting an NES, and I had a Nintendo 64. I didn't have a PlayStation 1, but I remember seeing the Crash Bandicoot commercials. I remember seeing all of the hype around it, even at a young age, and I still remember the first time getting to play it. I went to I don't think they do this anymore, but I went to a hotel with my family. Mm-hmm. And they had a PlayStation unit in the hotel room that you could then rent games from. Huh. And I just remember being super pumped at getting the chance to rent Crash Bandicoot and getting to play it there for the first time. And that was around the time of just the first one being out. Yeah. And then later, they came out with the the PlayStation 1. Not the actual first PlayStation, but they called it the PlayStation 1, and it was this tiny portable version of a PlayStation. Yeah, and I bought that, and I bought all of the Crash games, all of the Spyro games, nice. All of the Final Fantasy games, all of the things that I had missed out on, and just binged the heck out of them to catch up. And so that's kind of my pass with it. Was I didn't have it at the moment, but I remember seeing it and being a part of, the excitement of it. And then as soon as that portable one came out, I just remember just binging all of them.
Oh, that's amazing. But basically the first game in the series was your main exposure to Crash then.
Yeah. I mean, by the time that I was able to get the mini one, I think all three had come out at that time. It's still a little fuzzy. I'm not the best with memory, but I think at that time, all three had come out, and so I was able to get a PlayStation greatest hits, collection of them, and then just play it that way.
Nice. Yeah, because the game came out, I think right around the time I was about a year old, I think. So I'm just a little tiny bit older than the series, but I started playing it when I was oh boy, I keep saying it was maybe 2 or 3 years old. As far back as I can remember picking up a controller is when I was exposed to Crash, and I've been with the series. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been with the series ever since. I'm not gonna recount them here, but I do have a story basically for every game that came out, even post Naughty Dog. I've just stuck with it throughout the whole way, and there'll be a question later where stuff more recently come into play, especially after that long gap of nothing. Mm-hmm. We were trying to figure out well, is the series dead? When's it coming back? So yeah, that's gonna play a part in later questions.
Cool.
Next question. What was it like working on some of the more recent Crash games, having a part of them in this revival phase with Sane? And what was your favorite aspect about being a part of that?
Sure. I think for me it was just kind of being a great honor. Getting to take part into a franchise that, for yourself, it holds such a key kind of video game memory for them. And so, getting to be a part of kind of a revitalization of excitement around this character was just an absolute like exciting thing to feel,
Yeah.
and once kind of the trailers for the Insane trilogy came out and seeing people respond really positively and the excitement and just seeing the love for this franchise and this character and the cast of characters, the just immensely deep bench of characters, and the knowledge base out there that people have built up has just been such a really cool thing to see. And so getting to play a small part in the Insane trilogy and getting to work on CTR as well as obviously Crash 4 has just been just an honor. It's been really cool. And so seeing that response, seeing the knowledge, seeing things like people recognizing tiny references or tiny little things that we thought people would notice for months or years in like a heartbeat in a trailer. Things like that is just really cool. And it's just nice to see the outpouring of support and the just overall positivity. It's a really great community and it's a really great yeah, I just think positive collection of people that love this game.
Yeah, it's been so fun just being there for everything that's come out with trailers, little showcases, and I've done like reaction videos and stuff to that too. So I've seen you around and all the stuff you've had to announce and reveal for the different games. Um, one of which has been kind of a running gag amongst my community, but who was the one that came up with the little terms like the scrubbing bubbletron from Insane Trilogy, or like how you guys describe like the physics or the technology behind like the water and stuff like that? Because we always have to point stuff like that out and be like, as we're streaming the game, we're like, oh, here we go, it's the scrubbing bubbletrons, it's the ambient water, and
I mean, how a game gets talked about is a combination of the development team working on the game, the people at the Activision PR coming up with fun keywords that'll hopefully stick in your head,
uh-huh.
and then some of it just maybe whoever's talking about the game. I mean, I'm personally probably responsible for some of those things if it was in something that I was narrating, because I can just make stuff up on the fly and have it come bite me in the future. But as far as those specific things, I don't know who. I'd have to go digging to see specifically who. There's so many. I guess my biggest thing, recently, the past couple of years, I've switched from, being at Activision to being at the developer at Toys for Bob, and
Hmm.
it's one of those things where at the publisher, you help, get the game to the market, you get the game to people, but sometimes you don't really realize how many little answers to little questions come up.
Uh-huh.
Just the immense amount of every single part of a game is, what do we do here? Like which way is the wind blowing, so that the grass should go? Which way should we
Uh-huh.
name this thing? And so sometimes, there's some questions that it's like, yeah, here's an answer. It's a scrubbing bubbletron. Cool, let's move,
Yeah.
And so honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's always fun to pick out those little bits and be like, oh, yep, there's that guy, and describing the
Hmm.
little bits like that.
Yeah, and it's also like, I mean, the funny thing on Crash 4 is like the an instance is the name of the alien mount, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you know the name of the alien mount?
I believe that's the Shnurgle.
It is the Shnurgle, and the name for the Shnurgle was not something that we were like, okay, let's get in a room, let's workshop this, let's figure this out, let's have a major heated discussion and run up the ranks. It was literally the sound that our art director Josh made when he saw the concept art. And we were all in the room and he goes, "Oh, Shnurgle." And we're like, "What?" And we all just kind of fell in love with it. And then it just became like a running gag to the point where it's like, what are we calling it? It's like, yeah, it's the Shnurgle, duh. Like there's no other name for it. You have to call it the Shnurgle. And so it's just things like that that end up being a mini record of your time with a game, and how some things come to be is really funny.
Yeah. Oh, I love little stories like that. That's awesome. Um, Oh, so I guess I have like a little mini like off the script question. I guess with the Shnurgle, because some people, it's not like a huge thing, but some people I think I've caught on streams and playthroughs and such. When Tana mentions in the snacks dimension the Shnurgle shake, is it a shake that they turn a Shnurgle into a shake, or does it come from the
No, no,
Shnurgle
no, no.
like
So
naturally?
it's not a Schnurgle shake. It's a Schnurgle shank, like a thigh meat.
Ooh, okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So if you think of like a lamb shank, like braised and made. So someone over there is using those poor things
Oh
as
my
as
god.
lunch.
Was it really Shank? I didn't even. I must have
Mm,
misread the subtitles.
mm. Yeah. Well, I'll have to double check. Maybe we got the subtitles wrong. Shake or shank, please write in your thoughts and let us know what you prefer.
Should double check, put it in there. One of us is right or wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say a meat shake just disturbs me greatly. No one's eating a burger shake.
Oh my god. Like blend up the Schnurgle
Yeah,
or
exactly.
burger.
Well, it's the culinary capital of the universe. Anything goes.
That's true. Um, so in that gap, uh, it's a good thing. Yeah, so it's a good thing that you started as far back as the first game and got so used to the characters and the worlds for the next question, which is in the gap of nothing really going on with Crash, being I guess in that on the more development side of things and having your the people you know, the connections and whatnot. What were you doing to fill that gap? Knowing that like there was nothing for Crash, but having people you could probably talk to about on that division side of things. Do they have any plans or like kind of like where were you in that space at the time? Like what were you like working on or partnering with on different games, or like were you wondering what was going on? Like did you realize that how the Crash series just kind of like stopped for a while and you were like, oh, I wonder like what's going on with that, if it's going to come back, or the attempts to bring it back with the canceled games and whatnot. Like, where were you in that space at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come fully formed as a creative producer. So during that time, that was me working my way up through, different roles and different games and different project at Activision. And so I wasn't included in, higher level discussions like that at the time. And,
Uh huh.
personally, I always wondered what was going on with it. It was one of those things where, we, you know, uh, always want to know, what decisions are happening, what questions are going on, what are we going to do with, Crash and Spyro at that time. And, one of the things that I was working on, or at least starting to work on during that, was Skylanders.
Uh huh.
And Skylanders was a really interesting reinvention of kind of the Spyro franchise, developed by now the team that I work with at Toys for Bob.
Hmm.
And so obviously on our side, it was still, yeah, like what is happening with Crash? We didn't know because we were heads down in the Skylands, as it were. And come to see, after the fact, like I've seen the stuff that people have seen, now online of games that didn't go forward that were completely unknown to me. I didn't know.
Uh huh.
And so it's just kind of an open question. And then we had an opportunity on one of the Skylanders games to kind of see how people, resonated with Crash Bandicoot and so on. I believe it was Imaginators. I
Yes.
get my Skylanders games mixed up. Sadly, they've worked on quite a few of them, and we were able to bring in the Crash and Neocortex kind of pack, and Vicarious Visions, kind of led that expansion pack on kind of the Skylanders Imagineers game, which was really their kind of toe dipping into the world of Crash, as well as Toys for Bob working on Skylanders. So it was kind of this nice harmonious way for all of us to start to really refamiliarize ourselves with kind of the world of Crash Bandicoot and the feeling of Crash Bandicoot. Obviously, there it was, how is that adapted to the feeling of a Skylanders game? But
Yeah.
it was still something that it was allowing us to kind of ingest the world and the history and bring him top of mind. And then from there it was Vicarious off to the races with creating the Crash Insane trilogy. And so yeah, kind of the rest is history there.
Yeah, I love how they made it just feel so much like Crash. Yeah, while staying in the realm of Skylanders, because the only real experience I had with the Skylanders series prior to Imagineers was the very first game, Spyro's Adventure,
Hmm.
because Spyro caught my eye. So I was like, oh, okay. Um, and if people, people know me online, kind of know I have a reputation of being like, it's, I've talked some stuff about Skylanders in the past, but more so,
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Lou, but
Give it a chance. Give it a chance.
that's what. Oh my god, you're gonna start. Oh, everyone's gonna attack me in the comments.
All right,
Thank you.
everyone in the comments,
No,
please give it a chance. I'm just kidding.
um, they'll do it. No, you know they'll do it. But no, I actually did run through Imaginators all the way through because I was originally just gonna be like, okay, Thumpah Wumpa Islands, I'll do that, and then I'll probably just
Mm.
leave it at that. And then I was like, how did the series evolve? Like certain little bits that I was like, that could have been tweaked. That could be different. This mechanic could be faster. I played through the rest of the game to see how that was like, and I was relatively surprised. Like some of those things did kind of come true. So I was like, okay, this is actually pretty all right. I think say even minus the Crash stuff that Imagineers is probably my favorite. Again, of the two that I've played, but
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's really interesting about Skylanders, not to make this a Skylanders conversation, was that it helped to build our team's forte into creating many different types of characters, right? Like
oh,
building
definitely,
out
yeah.
characters with unique, different abilities, which leads into kind of what we did in Crash 4 with, the different alternate heroes, because that's the team that spent so many years working on coming up with unique and varied movements and attacks for these different Skylanders,
Hmm.
as well as just how to onboard players to gameplay, how to kind of find that difficulty curve, because obviously Skylanders were targeted at a younger demographic, and
Yeah.
I'd argue making a game for a younger kind of audience is one of the hardest things in the industry to do right, because you really have to treat it as if it's their first video game, and so you can't take anything for granted.
Uh
And
huh.
so that kind of mentality is built into the studio's DNA, which kind of flows forward to Reignited in Spyro, and then flows forward from that to Crash 4 in a really interesting way.
Yeah, yeah. Noticing the difference between because I think my first Toys for Bob experience was in Fast Powers Adventure, and all things considered, for as much as I've said about the first game,
Mm,
it's not like a bad experience at all. There are just certain things that again, like I was saying, like oh, tweak this, do this, blah blah blah. But that's just me being like a
mhm,
little dumb gamer kid. But going through and seeing how you guys' games like flow through and evolve, and seeing Reignited learn off of Insane, and I thought that was really cool. Like certain things, people were like, "Oh, the lighting here, colors here," and like paying attention to the skyboxes and all that stuff. Um, we were picking out all those little details and being like, "Oh, that was cool, that was neat." And then with Crash 4, seeing that and going, "Okay, whoa, they're reinventing the way." Like Crash 4 is screaming, "We know you've played the original trilogy, so here's that and then some, but we're also gonna kick your butt a bit." Everyone's felt it.
sure. Yeah, no, I think the fun thing with that was it's a bit of a perception thing, right? Like we've at Toys for Bob made games for a younger audience, and so at this point it's like cool, we get to aim straight for the hardcore and show people we
Yeah.
can do that. And it's a really interesting thing to gauge kind of the skill level when people have 20 plus years of muscle memory,
Hmm.
right? They've got 20 odd years of skill built into this specific type of gameplay that maybe some people have it, maybe some people don't, maybe some people are really strong at that sort of thing. And it was a really interesting challenge, and we wanted to come out of the gate and say, hey, we're going to make a game that is both welcoming to people and is an appealing game for all comers. We'll teach you how to play the game. We'll get you through, via a good difficulty curve and kind of teaching you these mechanics. But for expert players, we wanted to give you something to chew on. This has
Yeah.
been a 20-year wait. We wanted to make sure that people weren't, blowing through this in an afternoon. We wanted to get you, something that you had a good amount of time with.
Yeah, I will say too. Yeah, being a fan for so long, again, since like as far back as I can remember, Crash being the first series I ever touched and the first game I ever picked up. This game did make me feel like I was trying to master Crash for the first time again. So you guys did an excellent job with that. Because not only is it familiar, it still demands this kind of patience, this kind of
Hmm.
critical thinking, and that stuff that I definitely love chewing on. I love, I enjoy having to figure stuff out while platforming, and it's very straightforward, very like you know what you're supposed to do, but can you do it? And Crash has been
Yep.
pretty much built on that, but this kicks it right up, and I love it.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
And that
Yeah,
weaves into our
we
final.
always.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go
Oh no, no,
ahead.
no. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, for us, when we were looking at kind of the building blocks of this game, the words that always came up were like tense, precise, and
Mm-hmm.
execution.
Oh
And
yes.
that you know the question that's being asked of you. It's execution. It's can you do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not a game where you're gonna stop as your character and go, okay, well, if I connect the blue wire to the red, like Crash isn't about that.
Yeah.
He's barreling forward and something's coming in him, coming, to attack him, and he's got to make an instant decision and figure it out. One of our designers was actually saying it's almost like the platforming version of Guitar Hero, and that it's
Yeah.
sending a bunch of notes your way, and you got to respond in kind, and that kind of helped to inform. It's like, yeah, it kind of is, and that's why when you watch speed runners of this game, it's a completely different experience of
Oh
watching
yeah.
someone play it for the first time, where a level could take a half an hour and they did it in 45 seconds, and yet both are valid, right? You're just building
Yeah.
up that muscle memory and that knowledge. It's really fascinating to see.
I haven't seen it yet. Were you part of the group of devs that were reacting to certain speedruns? I saw that was a video that came out
Yes.
recently. Were you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was a blast. It was so much fun.
I gotta watch that then.
Yeah, no, I highly, highly recommend it. It's just like seeing people, get so good at this. Like someone posted on online a run through of Cortex Castle. That was the
Yep.
most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought those lasers one shot you. Wait, what? Oh, he can just jump over that? What? I was like, I couldn't comprehend it.
It was amazing, right? And it's like watching someone see the Matrix. Like it's just incredible. And I mean, we've seen reports of people going, oh, this last level's so hard, this level takes a lot of effort, and then to see someone do it in 45 seconds without like a single error, it's like, well, that guy can do it.
Makes it seem easy. It's not.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um. Okay, yeah. So working in with Crash 4 and your role on the game kind of leads into my final question, which is how much did you enjoy working on Crash 4, and what are your overall thoughts and opinions on the final game now that it's been out? And is there anything you feel immediately that you would probably want to see, like tweaked or changed, anything like of the sort,
Well, I
like about the
hated
game?
working on it. It was
Oh
just
no.
awful. It was a terrible experience. The people I work with are miserable. No, it was the greatest experience. It was so much fun. It was, after working on kind of remakes of the games for a
Oh
number of years, it was an interesting experience to be like, okay, now what? From a blank piece of paper, and
yeah.
it required a lot of research, a lot of playing the old games, a lot of very quickly trying to figure out what is it that we want to bring, what is it new or even old that we want to bring. And for us, we kind of glommed onto this idea of it's kind of wild to make a game that feels like a game from 20 years ago, you know
Mm-hmm.
now. And so we kind of were like, okay, kind of one of the big innovations, as it were, of this game is to make it feel like a sequel to the original games, because nothing else felt like that. And so once we had that kind of North Star idea of what this game could be, it was this rapid, fire. Like, okay, what are the things we want to do? Okay, who loves what elements from the original games? Okay, how do we evolve on that? How do we push that forward? And then to
Hmm.
bring in 20 plus years of expectations, or 20 plus years of playing other platformers, of building skills, making, say, Skylanders and different heroes, our hero team coming in and going, hey, it'd be great if we could have multiple characters to try and play as. That's something new and unique and really fun. And the narrative team, we're looking around going, oh, okay, what do we want to do? What happened in those original games? What are the characters we want to bring back? And so there's just this immense sandbox to play in, and choosing your toys in that sandbox is simultaneously the most joyous and most painful experience, because for every time you get to go, yeah, let's do that, you have to look at the pile of other toys that you want to play with and go, oh, come on, I'll get to
Yeah.
play with you later, kind of a thing. And so it honestly, it was a tremendous blast. And for me, I've mentioned, I was a Nintendo kid. I'm a platformer fan at heart, and so for me, it's been just an absolute dream game to work on,
Hmm.
because we're making a type of game that doesn't really get as much attention anymore. And so
Yeah.
getting to make a big scale, really fun, straight for the hardcore, and yet accessible type of platformer has just been a dream. And it's the type of game that I can play. It's the type of game that I love to play. And so selfishly, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. Every day is, a new challenge. And then to see what the level designers are coming up with as far as, new and unique level challenges, the art team to see what crazy dimensions we're going to, and then to get to be a part of that and to help kind of put that together has just been a dream. And so, I'm immensely proud of the game that we released. And to see the critical acclaim for it has been just insanely heartwarming. To see that people are resonating with it has been just awesome. As far as anything that I would change, as far as anything that I would tweak, I mean, I'll let you in on a secret. For every single game released in the history of video games, you can ask every single person on the development team and go,
They'll be
what
like,
would you do differently? What would you change? What would you want to do? And there's a giant stack. There's a million things. Like, oh gosh, there's an eye roll in like one of the cutscenes that I wish we went the other way because it would have read better. Like you just at some point have to release, your child into the wild and hope that people accept it. And
yeah.
there's no getting around that. There's no getting around the fact that as much as you'd want, no video game is perfect, but at the same time, you make an effort to get it out there with obviously the highest amount of quality and the right decisions. We always had this thought of, what, when you're making a game, stalling and overthinking a decision will end up causing a traffic jam. And so it's like, all right, a decision is better than waiting for the right decision, because then you make
Hmm.
it, you figure out if it works, and then you try and change it and do things like that. So yes, are there things in the game that maybe I would like to change and tweak, if we get another chance, or figure out something for the future? Sure, maybe we'll give an alternate choice of one of those questions, a run through. But are there any major things that I'd be like, oh, really, level 3 could have been double the length and I would have been much happier? No, I don't really think there is. I'm just crazy proud of the game and super pumped that I got to be a part of it, and that the team kind of put everything into it and just made something that I think fulfilled somehow 20 years of expectations. um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I've settled.
um, yeah, for me, no. I've been loving it. I've been loving it so much. I'm really close to the 106%. I've just got some extra stuff left to grab, but oh my god, is it a
Mhm.
chore right now? Like I'm really having to like memorize the levels and going through, and it's like, oof, oh my god.
It's one of those things on the list of things that maybe we'll try differently in the future. One of the things that I was really surprised to find is how many people want to go for that 106% or how many people want to go for the 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I remember being a kid and playing, like I said, playing those games, playing the original games, and not even knowing gems were a thing. Like I remember going through and just it being an adventure game and that being like this additional layer. And that was actually one of the things that we focused on with the game was trying to what we call bubble up, those elements that before were kind of hidden or were in the background or weren't as to the forefront of kind of a player's experience. And so for us, bringing things like the gems or these additional goals into the forefront to give players additional tasks or replay or just new things to do in the game
Mm-hmm.
was a goal for us to try and give you a longer experience, to give you more game, give you more things to do and things to experience. And I actually think at least maybe it's the vocal minority of folks out there, but seeing the amount of people going, oh hey, I'm going to try and go for the 100%, I'm going to try and go for the 106% is so many more people than I expected. And it's awesome to see, which means we did our job. But at the same time, it's super curious to me because I remember playing those original games not even knowing it existed. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
That's definitely one thing, one like philosophy that I've seen in this game that threw me right back to the original Crash, which is just let the player figure it out, try to nudge them in the right direction, but don't tell them anything past that.
Yeah, we actually that was the great point. Just to give you a quick aside of like those questions you have when you're making a game,
Mhm.
we had so many questions of how much information should we provide a player, how much not necessarily hand holding but like tutorialization or information should we provide players, because you go back to the original Crash and there's literally like, hey, here are the controls, have at it. And that's the first like couple seconds of the game, and then there's nothing.
Yeah.
you know and so for us internally it was even a controversy of breaking out the controls to teach you them in order in the first level of the game of like, hey,
Yeah.
jump over this, spin this, like that was a controversy, right? Which I will fully admit I was skeptical like to the end on,
Yeah.
because I'm like, no, people are going to think we're holding their hands. People are used to just, a block of text. We're coming at this too easy, and it's just so funny to see, I think it's just times have changed, skills have changed, information has found to be, provided in a better way. And I think we ended up in the correct place as far as how much information we give you, because there's a lot of things in there that weren't in the original games, right? Like there were, we have the kind of those splash images in the dimensional map informing you of like, hey, this you get gems at the end of a level. It kind
Yeah.
of runs through the different tasks. We've got a really great kind of level stats kind of screen summary, as well as individual level kind of run throughs that our
Yes.
UI and UX team just did an amazing job on and led the charge with. But it was kind of interesting because we would always have these conversations of, would a Crash player want to know where this is? Like
Mm-hmm.
of a color gem. Like, do we tell them the
Oh boy.
level it's in? No, we shouldn't do that. Tell them where the path is? No. Do we tell them that they exist? Sure. And then things like
Mm-hmm.
that. You could go a million ways on. Like, we could have just like put them in the game and not given anyone information on it, and kind of seen if the internet kind of bubbled up the conversation and discovered things, which
Yeah.
we may have done for certain things. Um, but it was always a really constant push and pull of what should be more modern and what should be kind of more like it was back when it was kind of originally brought out,
Yeah.
because styles have changed and opinions have changed.
Yes. Yes, because that was one thing I noted about Insane Trilogy was how you've got the little key there that's like, okay, here's this does this, X is jump, square spin. Um, and I was always wondering, like, I wonder if you could like toggle that on or off, like for people that don't want to see the hints or don't want to, because maybe it's a
Hmm.
little too handholdy. But I
Yeah.
understand it being there because yeah, the older games were harsh with the secrets. You had to experiment to find something. But not that that was a bad thing, because that was the best part about it.
Sure.
And there was plenty of that here too. Like I didn't even somebody like in one of my stream chats told me, "Oh, there's writing on the wall in this one particular level, and that's how you get one of the color gems." And I was like, "Oh, what?" And then I did it, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's freaking cool." And then we saw, 3 other levels of the same thing, and then the yellow gems just kind of like out in the open. But if you're paying attention, you'll see it like right there. I loved it. I loved
some variety there.
I loved how I first loved how the blue gem was just a straight reference to Crash 2. I also love how the yellow gem, if you're paying attention, I'm not going to say the level for those who may still not know, but that little pullback on the camera from the little level introduction when you first enter basically shows you. So if you're paying attention, you'll see it. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, there were some things like that where we had a lot of fun kind of finding the level of secret, right? Because some folks are like, "Oh no, it's way too secret. It's on a cave painting that'll tell people how to do it." And I'm like, I remember, I don't remember which exactly one it is, but there's a secret in one of the original Crash games that you get to find because you notice one of the nitro crates isn't jumping.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that level of secrecy is insane. I don't think we jumped. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it's like a little staircase of nitro crates. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't think we went that crazy, but it's to each their own. But finding those fun ways to get people to kind of look at your game differently is something super fun, right? Because I think, to me, the thing that I'm really proud of kind of what we did with the game is you kind of look at it in layers, right? And you try and go, okay, the general audience here is going to want to play the game and have a fun, adventure and reach the end and have a story, and that'll be the end of it, right? And so then you make that layer, and then you go, okay, we have another layer for, the people who are crazy, want to build up the muscle memory, and they've got that time trial layer. Then you got the people who want to explore and find things, and the secrets, and so finding the ways of doing the color gems is another layer. And then we've got the clear gems, each with these different kind of behavioral things of kind of working your way up to breaking all the crates, which is kind of what the Wumpa gems are doing, right? They're informing you and kind of helping you build that skill and giving you kind of like a stair step along that path. And then we've got, like the death gem, which is kind of a stair step to both learning how to do a time trial, because time trials you have to do in one life. They're insane.
Yeah.
And so having kind of a micro goal on the way to figuring out how to beat a level perfectly or how to get through a level without dying, I think we did a concentrated effort to deliver these different experiences in the same level. So you're kind of tackling them with a different mindset each time. So that way you have a lot of reasons to keep coming back.
Yeah, and it's just it's so good. There's so much. There's a little bit in there for everyone, whether you love the original trilogy, little things from post Naughty Dog that kind of made its way in as little references and stuff. I love it. Taking the best of Crash 2 and 3 with the movesets and characters, marrying it with the best of Crash 1 with the difficulty, the intricate level design. It's amazing, and I've had just a fun time with it. Like I said, I'm not done with it yet, so I still got a ways to go. But it's been great. It's been a very, very fun experience, and I thank you guys for making it just so good. I love it. It's amazing.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, I mean, it's another in-depth developer secret is when you work on a game for as long as you work on a game, by the time a game ships, you rarely ever want to look at that game again. And I play this game quite frequently. I still play it. I still am working my way through and getting my progression going.
Awesome.
Yeah, but now I know specifically who to yell at for certain things.
I love it. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're coming up on time, so thank you so much, Lou, for joining the Bandicast. This has been an awesome opportunity to get to talk to you about the series, about your experiences, and all that stuff, about the game. Like I said, can't praise it enough.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here and getting to talk about it.
Yeah, it was very fun. One thing before we get off, I tend to plug all my guests. So if you've got anything, if you have anything, I don't know, maybe you might want to let people in on what you're doing.
Sure, you should get out there and buy a copy of Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Yeah, please. If you haven't played the game, play it. If you've got friends who want to play the game, get it for them. The holiday season's coming up. Give the
I did
gift
do
of
that.
Crash Bandicoot. Yeah.
One of my friends on Twitter wouldn't have been able to play the game for a little while longer, and I was like, I'll just straight up buy it for you, dude. And I did.
There you go. It's the season of giving.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for listening, and tune in later for more guests, some returning, some new. It's going to be great. Thank you once again, Lou. And until next time, I'm Mark.
I'm Lou.
Sorry, yeah. I do that. I forget to tell people, oh, yeah, by the way, we're doing an outro. So say your name.
Hey, sure.
And this has been the Bandicast. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. And take care.
Bye.